long before we got into slave ships. So we need to know that, and we need to also understand what has happened on that whole Eurasian continent that led us to this point. And one of the things that really attracted me to HWPL, and they'll be talking about this on our show on Saturday. Deborah is featuring the HWPL commemoration of the peace conference that really has been kicking off this whole global peace movement, and that they've got a document that they're spreading across the world so that leaders can agree to certain principles of behavior, and first of all, to make war itself illegal. So that by law, by international law, if you have a conflict, you got to sit down at the negotiating table. Isn't that what we just talked about on the show?
Yes.
So this is what should happen as a matter of policy. And so this is what they're talking about in terms of having all nations agree that never again will we settle our differences by violence. And so the document is called the DCPW, the Declaration of Peace, Cessation of War. It was introduced several years ago at a global peace conference initiated by the organization Heavenly Culture, World Peace, Restoration of Light, a mouthful, so the acronym is HWPL. But Manhi Lee, who is the chairman, he was moved by, he's been in war, and so he was moved by all of the violence that has erupted and destroyed so many civilizations of mankind, century after century. And so he organized all around the world people who will agree to this concept of peace. And it just means that we respect each other's boundaries, we respect each other's culture, we respect each other's religion, and we agree that we're not going to ever use violence to solve our differences. It's such a simple document. And gathering, first of all, the religious leaders. He gathered the religious leaders together and said, if we can agree that regardless of what our faith is, that our basic principle is the same, that we're supposed to love our neighbor as ourselves and treat others as we wish to be treated. If we can all agree that regardless of whatever the difference in doctrine is, that's the basic premise of all of our faith, we can take our commonality and use that as the basis of government so that there is respect for all life. And so this global peace conference, I was just astounded when I went. I went twice. I believe it was 2016 and 17, I think, or 17 and 18. I got to look at my calendar. Can't remember. But I think it was 17 and 18. So I went 16 the first time I went to Korea to visit my daughter. And second and third year I went. I attended the peace conference. But I was amazed. I was like, how come American journalists don't know this is going on? The whole world has a peace movement that is global. How come we don't even know that this is the energy that's being put out?
Media.
So we need to know, and we need to see history differently, and we need to stop seeing ourselves as African people as victims of white oppression, because we've been some oppressors too, and we need to admit that. On our continent and on other people's continents. We need to admit that we've been part of the whole human problem of violence. We have participated, and that's how we ended up over here, because we were fighting each other. We need to acknowledge that, stop blaming white people. They were just doing what all human beings have done in some point in history, and we are part of that as well. And all of us need to change what's in our hearts so that when we have a conflict or a difference of opinion or a disagreement, we can choose a different way to